I'm that girl who loves watching and observing people's behaviors to be able to see what is ticking for them and why they are responding in certain situations. I find that I've always been curious of how people respond, behave, and react. And now that I have the perspective of the metaphysics, I can see even more deeply what's going on for them. And so, welcome everybody. Uh, Yesterday was my church experience again with such lovely people in my community who are there to raise the vibrations and to support each other in a spiritual capacity. And it was fantastic once again to be able to be of service, to consider ourselves and our well-being, as well as know that we have a great opportunity when we come together to use our free will to empower others and to be able to have that bigger mindset of what is going on. Many may not know that in New Zealand right now, we're waiting on a judge to decide a case from the High Court about whether a group family of 8 family members, sorry, I'll say that again, 8 families from all different professions, doctors, nurses, scientists, a whole range of fantastic professional people who have children who are wanting to question the government's decision to make mandates on children between 5 and 12. And I think this is a great conversation dialogue because they have professional evidence and proof about their concerns and reservations of why this should be occurring to children. And so on Thursday, the case was heard, and so today we are waiting for the decision to whether or not this will be paused while they investigate more, since the government doesn't have quite any research into whether this is actually safe and going to protect our children, and maybe there may be something else that might be more damaging to them. So it's a controversial conversation, and I'm sorry if this triggers you, but it has to be said, there are professionals who are leaving their jobs, such as doctors, because they are not complying, because they know from their own professional experience and expertise, this is not for the better for their children and betterment for their children. So lots to share with my thoughts and opinions about that. And so I was starting to realize that, first of all, I was bothered that the judge didn't make a decision on Thursday, because I'm super impatient with these things. I want it done last year, thank you very much. But in all sincerity, I know that there is a process here. And as I tapped into it, I felt myself getting quite upset, thinking, how many children are going to be inoculated during this weekend while we're on pause to hear this decision? So I did actually shed some tears with that, because I have my own personal fears still of people being impacted by reactions to this. And so I know I'm super sensitive. I know I'm super feeling into everything. And yesterday when I connected in amongst this group to be able to feel into how are we supposed to find our balance again with this? How are we supposed to see it from the bigger perspective, just in reference to this coming week? And when I channeled in, I could just feel that there is 2 big groups of separation, those for and against, but also those who are in the middle now who have, but now they've got reservations. So it feels like there's lots of different pools and groups of people all coming together with their own belief systems, which is fantastic. I don't condone anyone who feels that this is a safe way to protect themselves from something really scary, such as the virus. And I think if you believe that you're safe and protected, and this gives you joy for having all of these procedures done to you, that is your free will, that is your choice, and actually will raise your vibrations. It feels like those people who are starting to question the narrative, it's easy for their vibrations to get lowered as they suddenly realize that maybe there is some coercion here, and maybe there is something that is not good for the betterment of humanity. So lots of questions, lots of feelings, lots and lots and lots of feelings. So as they were showing me and discussing through this channel, it was about they could see both ways. So it felt like the judge, she has this professional role and she has a personal role, and I could feel that there was just so much weight on her that she actually needed this time to kind of prep herself. Now, of course, we would love for it to be, yes, we will put a pause on the mandate and we will start looking for the first time properly at actual evidence and proof to be able to see if what our government has been telling us is actually scientifically factual. So there's lots of evidence that hasn't been acknowledged by our government. And it kind of is interesting. If it is just like any conversation, if you're so sure of your narrative, why are you afraid of listening to other people's narratives? Because you should be open to all information rather than being very shut down, very sensitizing any other information out there just to manipulate your own one agenda. So it's sort of telltale, but anyway, so I was really wanting them to tell us everything's fantastically perfect and wonderful, don't worry about it, and that, all is well. And as soon as I connected in, as soon as I actually started having to formulate the questions to use our free will to get what we wanted from the collectives, I suddenly realized both routes, both angles are very beneficial and purposeful. And I am still buying into the worry and the fear of people being in fear, people being upset, people, I am still worried that people are going to have to feel their way through some real challenging times. Yeah, we're all here in 3D. That's basically the slogo for Earth right now, real challenging times. So they reminded me with much love to know my responsibilities, to know that my family is my priority. And while there are other families doing other things that are their priorities, for them to feel like it's the best approach and opportunities for them, for their safety and how they want to conduct themselves, stop buying into their emotions. I can't even be judgmental on their choices. I have to accept all choices. I have to accept all experiences. And I must be able to control my emotions so I don't buy into everyone else's dramas and fears and worries. And I can't protect them. I certainly can't save them. And if I start judging them, then, everyone loses. So find my inner peace. And what they clearly showed me was there is great significance to either way this judge will decide today. If it deliberates that yes, it needs to have more research and that this must be paused and these mandates for these children must be on pause, then this gives big big status for we assume that when the judge says, yes, this needs to be researched more and that they will put a pause on the mandate, then we assume, yes, this will be the big disclosure that we've been all waiting for to warn people that maybe this is not the most safest course of action to protect ourselves from a virus. And so we are all sort of putting all our emotional eggs in this basket, hoping that this will be the outcome. And we're almost afraid that what if it isn't? So what they showed me is if there is a pause and there is more research that needs to be provided to the Crown to be able to justify the current government's decisions, this feels like a huge win, and it will be this profound hope for all those people who have tried to get their truth out there. Unfortunately, the downside of that is that then it's going to create a lot of panic and concern and worry for those people who have diligently and loyally done what they were supposed to do and have complied. So it's like, oh, that's not going to be fun for them, is it? So there's that. And then there's this other side where the judge dismisses this and says that they fully believe that the government knows exactly what they're doing for people's health, and there is not any need to review their decisions, blah, 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 blah. And what would that do? So that would then trigger even more deeply these parents who at a professional level. So they're not they're not emotional wrecks. They're not conspiracy theorists. They're professionals in their own field. They know what they're talking about. And this does not make logical professional sense for them, what the government is doing. So that being said, and they can't speak out properly because they will then get their medical licenses removed, or they have maybe got their medical licenses removed through censorship because they have not followed the leader in this narrative game. Oh, so much to say with this pickly little web of experiences here. So if the judge dismisses this court case, and I mean, there is another layer, another tier of a court avenue to go to. So there's that. But what would happen to those people who are watching who really want it to go this way? It would cause them great anguish, great frustration, great distress. And then when you get parents who are being pushed into corners, they often don't just comply. They often get quite irate. And we don't necessarily fight and stand up for ourselves individually, but when it comes to our children, yeah, there it's like you take off your earrings, you're done, you're ready to fight, you are in this. Because while we can feel like we there's just so much to it, and I'm glad that I'm not crying because I can feel all the aspects of it. And when I just thought we could just use our free will and be able to just get the best for humanity from our perspective, because we just want everyone to have a great week and to not get stressed, there is no simple answers here. So I think I really tapped into the judges. I'm not going to say she's corrupt, and I'm not going to say she's corrupted, but we know that the systems have been formulated to not empower humanity in its true at a true individual rate. And so anyway, so much to discuss here. And as we know, all systems are collapsing and they need to collapse. And so with this situation where the judge dismisses it, it just opens up more avenues and more communities, much more communities, because while you may be complying, there will be a point where you've experienced something that you know you don't want to keep complying to because it's not good for your body, because your body reacts. Of course, it's not for all, but for those people who are confused about their reactions that they're getting, they don't want to then push it onto their children. And so when you're not included into sports and quite a lot of activities, this is going to really push parents to stand up. And so does it have to get to this point for more people to come together, find their communities, create different schooling experiences, create different community connections at a profound level where they've maybe have not had anything in interest, even though they're in the same location, living in the same country, they've never really sort of needed to cross paths. Their hobbies are not sort of group activities. And when we used to all religiously go to church or to go to a club and meet and connect in with each other at a weekly basis or something, that's when you sort of form your tribes and your communities that way. And you'd all sort of support each other to some degree because you would trust each other's professional opinions and all this sort of stuff. As society has got smaller and smaller and smaller, and they're working circles where they don't actually communicate with each other at a bigger, profound level, we all keep ourselves quiet and small and just think our thoughts and feelings as we are observing the world. Now we're having to speak up and step out. And this is quite uncomfortable for many people to do that, to share their thoughts and feelings. And when you have a professional opinion about something and you know that we're being steered in a way that is not for the good of all, that is a very uncomfortable, beyond uncomfortable experience. So what do you do with that? So it's extraordinary times, and we have to wait for it to all unfold, knowing regardless of which decision the judge goes with, all of those lessons are valuable. All of those experiences are valuable for the soul's growth, for them to be to face their fears, to experience all of this stuff and apply it, and hopefully with their communities be able to overcome it and find their balance and feel that they still have hope, that there is still something. And even if it is creating their own schools, creating their own systems, this is a really valid option. And when you feel like you've run out of options, new pathways are suddenly presented to itself. So much. So anyway, we asked to be able to give a much more epiphanies and support and love to those people who are still holding on to the density and fear that no longer serves them. They've shut down, connected it to their subconscious, and so they are resisting to release anything. They're holding on to all this fear, all this worry, all this trauma, everything, and they are possessive of all of this stress and worry. And a whole lot of it can actually be dumped because they've actually overcome it. They just didn't realize that they have learned those lessons. So they're still holding on to old, outdated belief systems, old, outdated fear systems, a whole lot of that sort of junk, with much love. So they're trying to lighten everyone's mindsets to be able to focus on what they are needing to experience right now. So much is going on, and I know that it just feels so must be. I mean, I have talked to a lot of people recently with these new groups that I am attending, with play groups with lots of parents, and then of course going to my church meetings and hearing what people are sharing is still very obviously still very 3D focused, 3D detailed focused. And when you're just constantly talking about the disempowerment, when you're just constantly focusing on the dark agendas, saying everything's evil, and you're just in this observing all the states of the world, that is fine, that is very valid. But when do you get sick of just talking in 3D? When do you actually want to start talking about spirituality, metaphysics, and actually the whole purpose and the whole significance of why humanity is going through this right now? Surely many people must be questioning this. What is this all about? Why are we all experiencing this? Why has the world gone upside down? And those are very valid questions, but when you're just wanting to look at all the crap, all of the things to awaken you, and all you want to do is just complain about it and feel disempowered by it and just want to keep focusing on that, your vibration is so low. And what I observed is when people are just wanting to focus on all the details of all of the things that have awoken to humanity to other agendas that are not for good for humanity, they're not interested in being able to have hope or faith or trust or anything that is a metaphysical perspective, because they've almost just chucked in the towel. And we all have our free will and choices. And when I was observing some people's behaviors yesterday, and I was noticing what, while they still view everything as evil, while they view everything as one certain way, and that they are just stuck here and everything's gone to custard, when they were given an opportunity to use their free will to send love and healing to all, they refused to do that. Now, it really surprised me why they didn't want to just use their free will just to give everyone a love bubble and to just send out pure love and, best wishes for the week. They didn't want to use their free will to help others. And I just thought, that's fine. That is their choice. And that is certainly not always my choice or decisions for it. And so out of curiosity, I just wanted to tap in there to see what was going on, because when you are not wanting to just even think and give love to people who are struggling and who are confused, it was very clear that the reason why they don't want to send out their energy of love and support others is because they're holding back. They don't actually want to give anything to anyone because they feel like they're very hard done by, and they don't want to share. They don't want to share their joy if they have joy. And actually it really sort of shows to me where they are vibrating at. They're not free loving to all. They don't even really love themselves to a degree, because they are feeling really victim mode being here and really frustrated that they don't get to have the life that they want to do while they're having to experience this grand awakening. So there was a lot there, but it was a fantastic experience for me to notice that someone who is wanting to be spiritual and yet refusing to give unconditional love and compassion out to the world in a group setting. And I just thought that's a lot of inner work for them there. But have we ever had an opportunity just to send love and to project out hope and faith and trust and to reassure the world that, you know, there is significance here? While it's painful, there's triggers and growth and experiences, there is significance here. It's not an accident that things are unfolding as they are. It is very divinely orchestrated for every situation. And of course, when we dip into the worry of it, it feels very overwhelming. So finding our neutral and understanding that if we start freaking out and having distrust and no faith, then, you know, we're separating ourselves so dramatically from our own teams. And when you don't have faith and trust in your own self and your own teams, how could you ever possibly think that you could then empower and encourage humanity? Oh, marvelous times. Big week for us in our family as school is starting. And so it is always enjoyable February for me because it's just lots of new beginnings of many things. Our summer is still here, and we are to enjoy every day the best we can, knowing what our responsibilities are and knowing what they're not is quite a good thing. And also, as scary as it is to face some fears and the calmness and the stillness and the security of your own home, I'm really hoping that some of you have been brave enough to try it. It is very triggering to think that you could put yourself into fear. But when we do that, we discover that we're constantly in that fear when we don't acknowledge it and don't face that fear. So it's not constantly in our faces for these different situations, but when we are in that experience, when we're having something that will trigger our fear, it comes out and has a party with us. So it is a powerful experience to have. And I feel like I need to redo it again myself to see if there is another new fear that is hanging out, waiting to be acknowledged. So I want to do my inner work and help myself as much as I can, because I know when I take responsibility of my inner work, then I will be better supportive for my family and my friends, and effectively for you guys as well. So it's all my responsibility to do my inner work, and I feel very empowered to do it because it actually doesn't hurt. It actually is so freeing and liberating and empowering to do it. And I love self-empowerment. And while we're all hoping that someone else could do that for us and praise us and love us and support us and do all our homework and our laundry, it is not possible. So understanding that while we can focus on all the 3D dramas and play with that and be worried about that and all that sort of stuff, when is it enough? When do we just trust that all the 3D dramas and density are there to awaken those people to where we're already at? So it's a marvelous time when we can see things from that more neutral, higher perspective. So I encourage all to find your joy and all to empower yourselves the best way you can, and acknowledging those little hidden nuggets of joy, those irrational or very rational fears is the best way that I have discovered recently to be able to expand upon releasing ourselves from any density. So I love you guys so much. Please have a fantastic day, celebrate yourselves, treat yourselves, and love others, because when we can love others, then we are being of profound service. Bye.